Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today we're going to be working on a Samsung S21 Ultra. The LCD on this is damaged, as you can see. As usual, we'll just grab a Sesamo tool and try to get underneath and pry our way around and loosen up the back housing or the back cover. That way we can access the back of the phone to get the screen replaced. Now this phone has been replaced before, so the screen comes off pretty easy. But when it's factory, it is pretty tight there. It's sealed pretty tight, so I do have a heat pad, so I just use a heat pad. I don't use a heat gun, but you can use a heat gun. That's the back cover there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just start taking out all these screws. Just go one at a time there. So when we replace this screen, it's going to come with the whole housing and everything. So basically what we're doing on this screen repair is we're just going to take everything apart, disassemble it, and transfer it over to the new screen, which has the frame and everything. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I get this screen. It's not just the LCD, it comes with the LCD and frame and everything. Costs a little more, but it's good to get because it makes your work a lot easier and it takes a lot faster to fix too. So we got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably around 11 screws there. And then we'll go ahead and take out these screws that hold the bracket for the speaker. So we'll just go ahead and take these screws out. If you guys are watching this video, feel free to hit the like, feel free to follow me and subscribe. Leave a comment if you'd like. If you have any questions on any other repairs you'd like me to do, just feel free to leave a comment below, and hopefully I can find that phone and get it fixed up for you. Do a little tutorial for you guys to work on there. Or not to work on, to have reference. So I'm just taking out these screws here. So if you don't know, with these new screens, some of these screws, I think they are threaded, so when you unscrew them, they don't just come out. You'll have to kind of pull them out with some tweezers. I fixed this one before, so as you can see, there's aftermarket adhesive on there that I still have to take off. So we'll go ahead and pull out that screw there. Make sure everything's nice and loose. We'll unplug the cables here for the wireless charging there, and we'll go ahead and just take that apart. Up here, what I'm prying here, this is the top earpiece, and I think the flash is there. Go ahead and get this aftermarket tape. Let's get that off there. It's kind of holding the brackets down. So I'll get my Sesamo here and just slowly try to pry this stuff out. Just find a spot where you can get your Sesamo and then just kind of wiggle it out there. It's the wireless charger. Top earpiece with some other components that are on there. I think the flash should be the flash. And then we'll go ahead, take off the bottom speaker. Slowly just work your way around. Try to find a spot where you can kind of get in there and kind of wiggle it out. Like I said, when they come brand new, they're held in there pretty tight. So you just kind of try to find your way in there, just kind of wiggle it out. Just like that. Speaker there. Then we'll go ahead, unplug the battery, and just start disconnecting everything. That way we can get the motherboard off. Selfie camera there. Got this camera here. That one's coming off with the motherboard. I didn't really have to unplug that, but yeah, anyways. Another cable here. Pop those out. Go ahead and unplug your LCD cable. Cables to the charger port. And then we'll just go ahead and unscrew the 3 screws on the bottom there that are holding the charger port down. You should be okay with all of them, but try to keep your screws pretty organized. But a lot of these Samsung phones, all the screws are usually the same size, but not always. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to take this off, or just remove the charger port here. But don't forget, guys, this is what I forgot. The SIM tray. Remember to eject the SIM tray first, guys. My mistake. But that's the SIM tray right there. We'll go ahead and pop that out. And then now the charger port should come out nice and easy. Got the charger port there, microphone, a few other components. Take that, move it to the side. And then we'll just loosen everything up here. And let's try to grab something and just kind of wiggle out the motherboard there. And then it should just, if it's not caught on anything, it should just wiggle itself out. Just like that. And that's the S21 Ultra motherboard right there. With all the 3 rear cameras. 3? I think it's 3. So we're going to go ahead and heat that up. I'll go take it to my heat pad, warm it up. In the meantime, this is the new display there. Like I said, it comes with a frame and everything. So basically all we're doing is taking out the components and just transferring it over. In fact, actually this frame is actually black, but the customer doesn't mind. So we'll go ahead and remove that battery. We got some ISO in here. I like to squeeze it in between the battery and the housing. That way it just reacts with the adhesive and kind of loosens it up. That way I can get my Sesmo in there and just kind of slowly just work my way down and wiggle it out. So we'll go ahead on this other side, add some more ISO in there. And then just slowly pry it out. And pry it out right there. And then we'll slowly just wiggle it out and get that out of the way there. That's the old screen. Kind of flatten out the battery again, so when you put it back onto the new display, it's not so flat. Or it's not so bumpy, so it sits nice and flush. I was gonna say the vibrator came with the new screen, so I didn't have to take that out and transfer it. It's already there. So it saves me one little step. So we'll go ahead and put the battery back in there. I'm gonna go put this motherboard back in. Make sure everything's nice and out of the way. But before we do that, I forgot to take one thing off. So if we look here, there's a little antenna there. We have to actually take this antenna out and transfer it over. So with this antenna here, it's held down by some wide tip screws. I don't understand why, but it's kind of weird. But Make sure you have that screwdriver if you're planning to fix this phone. So we'll go ahead and just unscrew those, and then we'll have to transfer this over to the other screen there. So we'll go ahead and take out all those screws there. Slowly pry it out. Use my little tweezers. Get some isosmo, or not isosmo, sorry, some ISO. Get the tips a little wet so I can stick it between there and kind of wiggle it out. And I realize I'm pretty sure there's still one more screw in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that screw out. And then once I get this screw out, all I gotta do is just wiggle this out, and it should just slowly work itself out there. Just like that. Just break it away from the adhesive holding it to the frame. Take your time, guys. And there it is. We'll take that out, and then we'll transfer it over to the other screen. Go ahead and set it in its place, and then we'll just run our screws back in. So I ended up losing my screw there, so I went and found another one. Sped it up a little bit too, so you don't have to watch me screwing everything back in. Fall asleep watching that. Well, if you guys are still watching this video, I hope it's helpful. Like I said, hit the like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys can follow me so I can come out with more videos for you guys. So now we're gonna go and put this motherboard back in. We'll slowly start it and then just pull it to its side there. Make sure there's not any cable sitting underneath. There's one cable sitting underneath there, so we're just gonna pull that back, and we're just gonna set it into its place. Make sure everything's seated nice and flat. And then once everything's nice and flat, we'll go ahead and start plugging the cables back in. There's two there. This one we'll leave for after. Plug the LCD cable back in there. Put the front selfie camera back in. Doesn't want to see it fit in there for some reason. Let me try to see what's going on here. Okay. I think I see the problem there. So let's put that down. Yeah. It's not fitting in there. Okay. So what we're gonna do is, I think there's a bracket in there, so I'm gonna pop that bracket out. I was just sitting there blocking the way, so now we can take our selfie camera there and set it back into its place. Might just take a little work here, but slowly push it back in, and we'll plug it back in there. Let's see if it's nice and clean. Make sure there's no dust behind it. And then we'll go ahead and slide our charger port back in with the SIM tray adapter connected to it, and then we'll go ahead and put our screws back in. Right now we're in Canada, guys, in Edmonton here. It's winter time. Pretty cold. But yeah, so we'll keep going, plug everything back in. We'll go ahead and get the speaker, the loudspeaker. Push it back in there. Get our screws. Line it up. And get our screws and start putting our screws back in. If you guys are watching this video and you guys are feeling like you're getting lost, or I'm going too fast, feel free to slow it down or rewind it a bit. So we're just going to finish off and put these few remaining screws back in. Go ahead and put our top earpiece back in there. I think with the flash that's attached to it. And right now we're gonna plug in our power button flex and our battery. Sometimes it could be a little complicated, so just kind of adjust your phone to however it's comfortable so you can kind of get them to line up properly and plug in. Having some trouble here, so I'm just gonna slowly work at it. You don't want to rush it or start pressing too hard just in case you might damage it, so just take your time there. This little guy here is giving me some trouble, but no problem. Just take our time, plug it in. There she goes. Plug our battery in. Make sure everything's nice and flush, nice and plugged in before we proceed. And then we'll go ahead and get our wireless charger. Put that shield back on. Go ahead and line everything up. Make sure everything's lined up properly. And we'll go ahead and plug the contacts back in. Again, just make sure everything's nice and flush. And then we'll proceed with putting our screws back in. It's pretty straightforward there, guys, right? So I just sped it up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on. And there she is. We're just going to wait for it to turn on. And test it real quick and make sure everything's working properly. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're new to this channel, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button and follow me. I'm trying to make new videos every time. I'm trying to make better videos too. Better quality, more crisp. So there she is. The phone just turned on. So we're just going to test it real quick here. Make sure the touch works, everything's good. So now we'll go ahead and just kind of put the back housing back together. So I like to use a bit of double-sided adhesive and another type of adhesive. It's called B7000. It's a liquid adhesive. I use it on basically anything that has to be taken apart and put back together. It requires adhesive that bonds it together. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to run a couple strips of double-sided tape in some certain areas, just so when the back cover goes back on, it holds it nice and firm, so the B7000 can cure properly. And once that cures, it's going to have a nice tight bond, better than double-sided adhesive. So when it gets hot and cold, it doesn't separate from itself. So we're just going to go around here and put some of this double-sided tape on. This video is pretty long, but I try to make it so I'm in as much in depth as possible, so you guys can see exactly what you need to see before you try attempting to fix this phone. If you need just some quick pointers or a quick refreshment of what the inside looks like, this video is perfect for that. So here I go. I'm just gonna take off this double-sided tape here and get it ready to put the back cover back on. So this is what I'm talking about, guys, B7000. So what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll just run it around the border of the housing. And then once this cures and dries up, it bonds the back cover to the frame nice and tight, so it will never separate. And with this stuff, when you ever have to replace it again, when you take it off, it's not too bad to come off. It's not like crazy glue or anything like that. So we'll go ahead and put the back cover back on. Make sure everything's nice and flush. Go around it. Make sure everything's nice and flush and set properly. And then what I'll do is I like to grab some tape and just kind of tighten everything up. I know people like to use clamps and some other things like that, but I have tape all the time. I like using tape. Once I fold it over and lock it together, they lock pretty tight. The more you use, the better. Just don't go crazy. I just like to hit all the important spots where I know where they would like to loosen up most of the time. So all I'm doing is I'm just going around and putting this tape on here just to make sure everything's nice and tight before it gets separated, so everything gets a good proper time to dry up without any gaps. Don't forget the SIM tray. Put that back in there. Put a couple more pieces of tape on there. And that should be good, guys. There she is. Samsung S21 Ultra. See you guys in the next one. Peace.